Man, I'm so excited for this, JJ. How long have we known each other now?
Man, I'd probably say since 2000, somewhere in there.
Man, that
You
just
were at
tells
you
me
were at, you were at were you at junior college then? Because I mean,
I
whenever I started.
graduated. I graduated from Troy at 2000 and went straight to Neosho County Community College. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, I met you through Steve Dudley.
Yeah.
Steve kept. I get you were talking to Steve. I don't know if y'all were recruiting or just getting to know. And Steve Dudley was always talking about, I like this guy. I'd love to get him on staff one day. And I basically was just a manager then, but I was just, always hanging around Al and Steve, Keith Powell, Jim Bonadigan, who worked at Mississippi State then and great mentor. I was just soaking it up with all those guys as a manager. And so Steve would always, I'd be in his office and, you'd be on the phone with him when he was doing some recruiting.
Well, I love it. This is exciting for me because even for guys like you that I get to interview here on the Gale Athletics Connections podcast, guys that I know really well, I still learn something new every time. So it's honestly super exciting for me. So, JJ, why don't you start? Maybe you just introduce yourself, where you're coaching at now, and we'll kind of get started that way.
I'm JJ Downs, and I coach track and field at Center Hill High School in Olive Branch, Mississippi. I also teach kindergarten through fifth grade PE, elementary PE. So, and I've been here 12 years.
And for people who kind of have a vision of the state of Mississippi, where is Olive Branch at?
We are, a stone's throw from Memphis.
Oh,
so
yeah.
We are basically on just right on the very, as north as you can go in Mississippi before you hit the Tennessee line.
Got it. And you're from Mississippi originally. Are you from the Olive Branch area?
I'm from Yazoo City, Mississippi, which is down the Delta, close to Jackson, Mississippi, Canton, Mississippi, Vicksburg, that area in there. So Belzona, running that area.
Yeah, a lot of good high school football down that way.
Oh, yes, sir. A lot of good football.
That's awesome. Well, why don't we start, JJ? You were an athlete at Mississippi State, actually. You were maybe one of the top 400 hurdlers around, I think, if you were in the SEC. Tell us about how you got to Mississippi State and what you did there.
Well, I don't know if I was good. I definitely was a home meet specialist. Me and Heath Dudley, we talk about this all the time. He's up here in the high school ranks with me in South Haven, and we debate all the time about who was the best home meet specialist. I was definitely a walk-on, and I'm so glad that Coach Renard Alexander, who was the sprint coach there, he allowed me to walk on, and Coach Smith gave me the okay, and so I was able to walk on and be a 2-year athlete at Mississippi State in the 400-meter hurdles. It was special, a great experience. Just opened up the door. So
growing up in Mississippi, did you grow up a Mississippi State fan?
No, actually, I grew up a Ole Miss fan.
See, I did not know that.
Oh man, a lot of people don't know that. I spent many Egg Bowls, rooting for Chucky Mullins and Todd Sandroni and Billy Brewer was the head coach there. And I tell people all the time, when they fired Billy Brewer, it broke my heart. And that was my brother was a Mississippi State fan, and so he got me to come over there. And that's when they were getting the Jackie Sherrill era going, and fell in love with Mississippi State, and hadn't looked back. It's crazy. My dad's a huge Ole Miss fan, and so we would always go to the Egg Bowl because it used to be played at Veterans Stadium over in Jackson, Mississippi. So that was about a 30-minute drive for us. We'd go over and go to the game, and that was long before they started doing the 1 year at Ole Miss and 1 year in Starkville, back and forth. But yeah, Ole Miss fan growing up, and then about 1989, 1990, 91 is when I, Mississippi State and Jackie Sherrill, and so.
I got to have Al Schmidt on the podcast one day just to give Jackie Sherrill stories. He's got some amazing.
Yeah, Jackie is a man, and yeah, I just love him to death, man. He's one of those that. He didn't necessarily know my name when I was there, but he knew I was a track guy because sometimes I'd have to go over to his office and stuff. And, Jackie was the man. So
that's awesome. So you ran you were a 400 hurdler though, right? I did get that right.
Yeah, I was a 400 hurdler. I ran track in high school. As I tell people, they a lot of times people start out with these stories that they ran summer track and all this. I was a football kid and baseball kid growing up in Yazoo City, Mississippi. And, never had any inkling about track and field or anything. I was going to grow up, be a professional football player and,
Right.
kind of do some Deion Sanders stuff and maybe, moonlight a little bit in baseball. That's your dream growing up. That's my dream. I wasn't worried about academics or anything. That's what my mother laughs about. I'm so hard on my kids about academics, and I check their grades weekly, and my grades were horrible, and I was a horrible student and could care less about school.
It's the eternal do as I say, not as I did.
That's right. But yeah, man, growing up, actually, it wasn't until 1984 that I even knew what track and field was or thought about track and field. But once the 1984 Olympics came on, oh my gosh, I just was in love with track and field as a fan, and it was just special. I mean, that was the year of Carl Lewis and, Jackie Joyner Kersey, Al Joyner, Valerie Briscoe,
Amazing.
Roger Kingdom, Edwin Moses, all those, and I really like watching the hurdles. I was like, man, that's pretty cool, because, running the 100, that's amazing, but running those hurdles is something special about watching them. You got to be, just a super athlete to be able to do that, to maintain your speed and hurdle.
I agree. The very first email address I ever had was hurdle love at Hotmail. So
oh yeah,
I love the hurdles, man. So how did you, after you got done with your home meet career? Hey, we need all those people, by the way. Those people are important. You were important, you and Heath.
Oh yeah.
Without you guys, there'd be half a heat left. So we're glad to have you in there. How did you get in? Was coaching ever on your mind, or teaching?
Never.
How did you get into coaching?
Well, funny. Let's go back to high school. I went to a USC public school, and my mother retired in 1990. And she taught 25 years in the public school, and we lived in the country. So I was going to have to go to a county school, which wasn't where it needed to be at that point, or it was a little longer drive. And so she was offered a job at a private school, and so I ended up going to the private school. And actually, my 9th grade year, when I was at public school, I didn't play any sports except I'd gotten into tennis. And one of my friends said, "Hey, we're having physicals at the new school." He was at the private school. He said, "You need to come play football. We need you because it's small school. You got 20 football players." He said, "You got pretty good speed. We need you." And I was like, "I don't want to go." Well, he picked me up that morning. I got a physical. End up playing football. End up playing basketball. End up playing baseball. We were at practice one day, and the girls are jumping these hurdles, and I'm like, "Man, I love watching this at the Olympics." So I ran and jumped over the hurdle. Well, the football coach who's coaching track's like, "Hey, we got a track meet next Saturday. You ran those hurdles pretty good. I'm gonna put you in the 100 hurdles and the 300 meter hurdles. Let's practice." And then 4 days later, I went to my first track meets. Billy Ray Harbor was my football coach, basketball coach, and he saw me hurdle, and he put me in the hurdles that week. And then that basically started my 3-year high school career of running hurdles and running other relays and stuff. And then ended up running some summer track for Yazoo City. They did a thing where they wanted to resurface the high school track. And so they wanted to see if people were interested in it. So me and some other guys ended up running summer track, going to the Meridian Games and running running down in Port Gibson and doing like a little AAU. It went for like 4 or 5 meets. And that kind of got them, oh, these people are interested in running track. Let's resurface the high school track in Yazoo City and build that program. And so that opened my doors to go and running track. And I actually wanted to go to college and play football. So track was not even on my mind. Coaching, I went to Holmes Community College and tried to walk on the football team. Well, when you're 150 pounds and, those guys are laying it to you and, you're not as good as you think you are, coming from a 2A private school.
The hometown hero.
Man, yeah. So, that right there let me know that, man, football might not be for me. So I'm like, well, I don't want to stay in town. And my mom's like, "You're going to college no matter what. You're going to get a degree. I don't care what you get it in, but you're going to go to school to get a degree." And that was, I graduated in 1994. I had a real bad car wreck 3 weeks after I graduated. So they didn't think I was going to live. I spent about 2 months on the couch that summer. And the doctors were like, "Yeah, he's not playing football anymore. We don't know if he's ever going to be able to kind of run and walk again. We don't really know what's going to happen." So, I came through that, but the next year of college, I went to Hines Community College. I had to learn to like write and read and just, there were some things that really wasn't there. My memory was kind of gone a little bit. So there's a lot of things that I had to do to kind of get back as a student. So I only took 3 hours the first semester, 6 hours the next semester. and I went to college. And then, I actually went to 3 different community colleges. So I went to Hines Hines Community College, and then I went to Holmes in Ridgeland, moved back home to Yazoo City, took, 15 hours one semester, 18 hours the next semester. Then Holmes Community College had kind of started a track program a couple of years earlier. There was a Russian coach down there, Coach Alex Tesman, and I think he's at Pill Academy now. But anyway, his wife was like a world champion 800-meter runner, and so he was coaching track down there. And so went down there and ran the 400-meter hurdles, and he kind of opened the door for me. And next thing I know, I go to Mississippi State the next year and walk on and spend 2 years there, and then became a manager, and then that opened up all the doors. So just kind of give you a little backtrack there.
Yeah. What did you end up getting your degree in?
Teaching and coaching. I got
what a great example of perseverance. You had a
yes.
lot of things against you, and yet you still kept at it, kept your, the grindstone or whatnot, and just got it and got a degree, an education degree. That's amazing, man.
Well, it was definitely an education degree. I remember I was sitting there, and I was out of track for 2 years. I was out of sports for 2 years. And I remember I was sitting in an apartment complex, and this elder gentleman was there, and we were just talking one day, and he was like, you want to work, manual labor the rest of your life, or what do you want to do? And I was like, man, I really miss athletics. I said, I think I want to go run track. And he's like, well, go. And so the next day I went, and I'm like, you know what? I want to go to Holmes Community College. One of my old high school coaches was there, and he was the softball coach, and he gave me a manager's scholarship. I think I got $110 every 2 weeks, and I had to like water the field and rank, do stuff like that. And so that opened the door, and I went up there, and there was no scholarship, but he let me run track, and I was able to play tennis. Got a little money for that, and then they were starting the adding men or boys to the cheerleader squad, and so she needed some men or boys to do it. So I got $500 to be a cheerleader for a semester at Holmes Community College. So I was a 3-sport athlete at Holmes Community College.
That is the real definition of just scrapping by. $100 here, $500 here,
man,
anything to get it done.
Anything, man, to do. And I was playing sports, so I mean, and that was after 2 years of sitting out. So. And just actually I was actually going to go to Delta State, because I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to run track in college. All my friends are going to Delta State. I had 2 buddies that were going to Starkville and to visit the school. Well, if you go, you get to excuse. So I'm like, man, I'm all for it. Let's go. Went to Starkville and ended up renting an apartment, and ended up walking in and talking to Coach Alex, Renard Alexander. And like, he was just amazing. Like, I walked in, the guy has never met me before. I'm like, hey, I run track in junior college. I ran high school. Here's my times. And he was like, oh, okay, we got some work to do. He said, well, here's the paperwork you need to do. I mean, and this is like in May. And he's like, in August we start. I need you to do this, 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 and this, and come back and see me. And so in August I came back and saw him, and he probably spent an hour in there with me. So here's an SEC coach. I didn't meet Coach Smith, but I met Coach Alex, and he said in there, he's like, yeah, we'd love for you to have a walk on, and it's, where do you want to go with your life? And I really didn't know where I want to go in my life. And I remember walking out of that office, and I said, you know what, I want to be a coach. Because he just took so much time.
Wow.
And there I was, I was not SEC material, but he was like, he saw something in me. I don't know, God, intervene, because I'm big on God intervening in every step of your life. And, he put Coach Alex, there, and man, the guy just spent an hour talking to me, and it was just amazing. And that just kind of, but a lot, he opened the door. A lot was, I had to take the time to go do stuff, to grind. And I think so many people, they don't want to do the grind. They don't want to, take the time to put in the work to get somewhere.
Well, stay with Coach Alex, because the story you just gave there really makes me think of Coach, and I've heard a lot of good things. I've met Coach Alex back when I was at Mississippi State a couple times, but I didn't know him. And I know you have obviously some amazing feelings towards him as a person. But it sounds like he really looked at you as a person and not as a time. If he looked at you as a time in that race, you would have been nothing to him, to your point about not being SEC material. But he saw beyond a score and a point. He saw the person, JJ, and really changed your life. You realized you wanted to be a coach after meeting with Coach Alex.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I think a lot of that comes from Coach Alex had spent like 30 years. He's from New Orleans, and he had started, I think it was called the Super Dames back in the 70s, when a lot of people were not, women were not allowed to do a lot of things in track and field. And I think he was one of the pioneers of doing that. And then him being, an African-American guy, he opened doors for a lot of young African-American women's back in the early 70s and late 70s, early 80s. And I think he won 3 or 4 state championships down there on the high school level. Then he was a high school principal or junior high principal for years, and then he was basically retired and he came to Mississippi State. I mean, he was in his 60s coaching at Mississippi State at the SEC level after he'd already spent, a number of years at the high school level and teaching and coaching the club level. So I think he carried that with him. So he was invested in the kids. Yes, he wanted to win, but he was invested in developing the kids,
That's interesting. That background definitely helped him with that. Absolutely.
Oh, he did. He was a phenomenal communicator, a phenomenal person. And I often wondered, I'm like, man, we got some kids that are scoring in the SEC, and he's over here spending time with me who, I barely score at the home meets, but it was all about the long-range development, and he would pour into each individual kid equally. And I think that's what a real teacher and a real educator does. They look at the person.
Well, I'll tell you, I meet and get to talk to coaches around the country, around the world, and there is a common theme with the really, really good coach. Not just good coach. There's a ton of great coaches. I'm talking about the guys and gals who are consistently winning and putting out great teams. That C word you said there, communication, is always one of the top 3 or 4 traits that people describe those coaches as. They communicate at a level and it's different for every athlete because every athlete's in a different place. The level of communication is always one of the top items that they describe themselves with. So that's interesting. So where did you go? You got your degree, which again, just amazing, JJ, perseverance and hard work there. I love that story alone. Where did you go to get your first coaching job, and how did that work out?
Well, I spent, I ran track there at Mississippi State for 2 years. And then as I was concluding up, I was finishing up, I was doing my student teaching in the fall, and I finished up in that summer. And I mean, I'm literally in the parking lot, and I just left Coach Alex's office, and Coach Smith, Al Smith, came down, and Coach Smith had talked to me maybe a few times, and yelled at me as I was, running over the hurdles. But, he's Al Smith, he's the, he's the endurance, Big Daddy Al, he's the endurance guru guy. So, it's like, it's kind of like Paul Bear Bryant, you if he talks to you, you talk to him, but if he doesn't, then, you stay out of the way, and he said, hey, you want to be the manager next year? I can give you a little bit of money and do this. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, all right, I'll see you in August. And
that was it.
That was it. So, I did my, in August, I was the manager, and I did my student teaching, and I got to, I got done at like 2:00. And so basically Jim Benadigan was there, and, he was there when I was an athlete. But as a manager, I got to spend a lot of time with Coach B, working and learning, from him. And I still use a lot of stuff that he used, especially with his communication and, how he designed workouts and stuff. I still use that at the high school level. And then, I was just working, being a manager, learning everything. And then I decided, I'm going to go to grad school, starting in January. So, I went through the GRE and all that stuff, and, decided to go to grad school and got to work with Coach B. Then Coach B leaves and goes to San Diego State. And so Keith Powell comes in, and he was an athlete at LSU, and Keith Powell was really amazing, and just bringing me in and like, hey, let's put a workout together. Let's do this. And, he really took the time. Coach B taught me a lot, but Keith Powell really sat down and, just let me, hey man, what's the warm up? Let's do this. And, got on my butt when I, needed some things or this and that. And he was really one of the ones that said, hey, let's get you a level 1. I'm gonna call Boo down there. Let's get you in. I was graduating like December with an undergrad degree. I think I postponed or something after I did my student teaching. And he sent me down, and I went down to Rummel High School with Mike Horn and those guys, and did my level 1. Got to hang out with Russ Bueller, and he was phenomenal pole vaulter, and he was on some 4x1s that ran real fast back in the day. So just
He's
meeting
awesome.
those guys along the way, helped. Just helped in my coaching, and just getting to know people in the track world. And again, I'm one of these. I'm from small town Mississippi or small town America that just at any point it's like, hey, this dream or this luck may run out. I may have to just go back home and get a real job. Here I am. God is just continuously blessing me with meeting people and opening doors, and I've got to walk through them, but He's still opening doors. So, it was real neat. Just rocking along. Doing that. Then Steve. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask you. You had mentioned earlier before we started recording, talking about these people that you got to meet. And you've Russ Butler, of course, is amazing, and Boo and all the rest of those gang. But you mentioned an athlete that was out on the track practicing one day, getting ready for the Olympic trials. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, and I guess it was the Olympic trials. I'm trying to remember, but I get a phone call one day, and I was like, hey, I need you to go to the track. And there's an athlete coming to work out, and I need you to take care of him. So I'm like, all right, great. Man, I show up, and I'm walking down through there, and I see this guy. The closer I get, I'm like, man, that's Floyd Hurd. I'm like, oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, what? And, I just opened up the facility and stood there and watched him do his workout. I think he was born in West Point. I'm not real sure, or somewhere around there. And he was back home for a funeral. And so I went in and got him like a Mississippi State sweatsuit and got some other stuff. If it was this day and time, I'd have took a selfie with him and it'd been all over Instagram and stuff. But
that's a good point.
Back then, Al didn't even tell me, that it was Floyd Hurd. He just said, hey, I got a friend of mine you need to go down there and take care of and, get him anything he needs and do. And then I want to say it was the 2000 that he, beat Sean, or like it was Sean Crawford and him and some other guys that he made he was third at the Olympic trial. So it was pretty neat watching him a couple of years later do what he did. And it's like, here this guy is, he'd been training with the Santa Monica Track Club and Carl Lewis and all of those guys. And here he is in Starkville, Mississippi. I'm a small town guy getting to meet, one of my heroes.
So
it was just amazing.
The internet is an amazing thing. So I just pulled up Floyd Hurd's Wikipedia page. First of all, that's how you know when you've made it, when you have your own Wikipedia page.
Oh, yes.
And Floyd was born in West Point, Mississippi. A great memory.
Man.
You must have done something for him, because his personal best in the 200 was set at the trials in the year 2000. So it must have been that J.J. Downs magic that helped him run. 1988, by the way.
Yeah, I think he was third to Sean Crawford and those guys, or did he beat those guys? I can't remember.
Yeah, it sucks about, it says the race favorites were come on, this is just a who's who. The race favorites were Michael Johnson and Maurice Green. They were pitted as rivals. Hurt. That was probably back in the whole 150 race days. In the head-to-head battle, both pulled up during the race, leaving Hurd to pick up the pieces behind John Capel, University of Florida great, at age 34, and became the oldest sprinter to make his first Olympic team. That's amazing.
That started my coaching career right there, man. I need to put that on my resume.
Hey, it's Wikipedia. I'll do an edit for you, and I'll add it in there.
Yeah. Hey, and I haven't seen him since. I'd love to run into him one day. I don't know if he remembers me or not, but I would definitely bring it up to him, man, and get a selfie. So
yeah, you get that selfie you should have taken back then.
And so and I don't know. And I was young and being a manager, and then you fast forward, I don't know, maybe the next year or something like that. I'll put this out maybe 2 years ago. I'm at Penn Relays, and, we've got, Steve Dudley has got Pierre, which Coach Alex had got there, and he retired. We've got Glenn McFadden. We got Dion Crabb. We got Marquise Davis, and we're going to Penn Relays. I think we won the 4x1, and there Leroy Burrell is, talking to Al Smith. We're in the elevator with him, and I'm standing beside, oh my God, here's another one of my heroes. So, I get a picture, and I posted like 2 years ago, and I don't know why it was in black and white, because everybody was like, how old is this picture? And, and then to see, Leroy, to see Leroy, he may not remember me, but to me, I'm from Yazoo City, Mississippi, small town. Here I am at Penn Relays, and I'm hanging out with, and I'm just like in a group of 5 or 6 coaches. I was one of these. I was always good where I hung out with Al Smith and Steve Dudley and all those guys when they talked to Leroy Burrell or Ralph Spry and all these guys. I was there, but I knew enough to stay quiet And if they talked to me, I had one word, and I didn't overstep my boundaries or anything. And so that was just huge for me. And, you know, to be included in a conversation, to Leroy, you know, hey, y'all look good. You know, y'all gonna run fast today? And yeah, we're gonna run good today. Oh, okay. And then, you know, I mean, it still blows my mind. And, you know, I've never really, you know, I'm not one that's going to brag. Sitting here talking to you, I started looking back. I'm like, man, those are some amazing memories.
Amazing.
They're special to me, you know, and I'm sure everybody's got stories like this. I mean, but to me, in my world, hey, this is, you know, it don't get no better than that.
You should have told Leroy, hey, Leroy, yeah, we're going to run fast. Did you hear what I did for Floyd back in 2000?
Yeah.
You two don't talk enough? Come on, man.
Exactly. And I mean, I think, you know, isn't that crazy that Floyd Hurd, Leroy Burrell, and Carl Lewis are all coaching at the University of Houston? I mean, geez, you know, I almost want to go back and be a grad assistant, man. How much? I mean, look at the knowledge and, geez. I mean, if I was a young coach starting out, I would tell them to do like, was it Mark Menikanji? Is that at Harvard? He went down there and he got to work with Tom Telly, you know, Tom and all those guys when he was young. I mean, that's how you do it. I mean, you know, you if you want to be in this game, you've got to go sit and learn from the best, and then, you know,
and there ain't much better than those guys, that's for sure.
Oh my gosh, no, not at all.
So you did a couple of years of managing, and you're right. That was right before I got there, but just some amazing people with Pierre Brown and Marquise Davis, and then Glenn came a little bit later after that. And we're missing people. Kelvin Harris. There's so many. That was just what a great staff or a great crew we had there, and staff, but great athletes.
Yeah, and
what's Christopher Lewis?
Yeah, and look, what's crazy is what's our decathlete that went to Texas?
Trey Hardy.
Trey Hardy, you know, we recruited Trey Hardy. I mean, I had to drive Trey Hardy around at Mississippi State, and then I remember him coming in as a freshman, you know, and we had to load those pole vault poles up and stuff. And I guess Keith Powell left, and then I left, and then Trey left, and then I think you came in. Mm-hmm. You know, is basically how that went. But I mean, you're sitting here and like, you know, I hadn't seen Trey since he's been at Texas, but I follow him on Twitter and stuff. But just to know that, you know, you rode him around on your recruiting trip. I remember Daniel Hunter, I mean, hosted that guy because he came on an official recruiting trip. And then I guess back then you could still come up, or I don't know if it's still true or not, like Trey would come up, you know, unofficial, you know, and like, you know, just come to a track meet or whatever it may be, you know. So he still hung out a lot, and I knew we had him, you know, and I mean, yeah, Trey's amazing, man. I mean,
I was there Trey's freshman or something. I was there for 1 year with Trey,
right?
And then he transferred out because I asked him one time who the best hurdle coaches he's ever had, and he said his top 3 hurdle coaches were me. Maybe he said top 2 were me and Mario, and I was like, oh man, that really means a lot to me. And he goes, he said I've only had 2 hurdle coaches. I was like, all right, well, hey, I'll make the top 2. That's all good. I don't care how I make it.
Oh man, and hey, you know, you said Mario, and I'm gonna tell you what, when I was coaching at the college level, you know, I met Mario when he was at Minnesota through Steve Dudley. And I mean, Mario's at Arkansas now. And the last time I saw him was at a coach's clinic. And I mean, he always comes up, shakes my hand, was like, what's up, buddy? What, you know, just down to earth. And I mean, you know, here he is, you know, he was the man at LSU. And I mean, a heck of a coach. And then, you know, that's what means a lot to me, that you can tell a lot about a person when they acknowledge people. I don't want to say beneath, but just, you know, I'm not a big time college coach. Yeah, they don't big time. You know, I mean, it's just, hey, this person is this person. You know, I like this guy. Hey, how you doing, man? What's going on? That you just meet along the way. Right. You know, and I just think that's awesome. So
agreed. And a lot of those people, and Mario is one of those, just down to earth, man. I don't care if he's got University of Arkansas on his chest or he's got Center Hill High School on his chest. He is a person first, and he's a good one. Absolutely. So after you did your couple of years of managing, and you really had that coaching bug, you wanted to coach, where did you go to start that official, I'm doing air quotes there, coaching career?
Well, kind of backtrack a little bit. When Steve Dudley came in, he said, all right, you know, I guess I'd been a manager maybe a year. He came in, he told Al, and they created, you know, it wasn't, the money wasn't there, but they created the title. I was a graduate assistant. So that allowed me to do some more stuff through whatever, the school paperwork or NCAA. And then I did that for a year. And so I was more involved with doing stuff.
Okay.
And then I became the administrative assistant, which allowed me to do more stuff. The pay wasn't there, but the title was there and the responsibility was there, which I loved it. I mean,
Right.
I can remember Dudley going on a recruiting trip one time, and I was gone for like a month. And so I had to take care of Marquise, Glenn, Pierre, Dion Crabb, and I'm doing the workouts. And what's funny is I was talking to Pierre Brown just 2 weeks ago. He's coaching in Charlotte now, up there. So this is his second or third year. And so right when he went into coaching, he reached out to me, and we just exchanged ideas. And he just wanted to know where to get started with the high school stuff. And
awesome
we just exchanged ideas. So I mean, that's special for me. Here is Pierre Brown, an Olympian and one of the greatest athletes ever, and he just wants to call and say, "Hey Jay, what's up, man? What's going on?"
That's so cool.
Looking for me for advice. And so I just said, "Hey, here's the mistakes I've made, some things I've learned." But I got to basically coach those guys for a whole month as a administrative assistant, grad assistant, and I'll never. It's like the Olympic trials one day, shooting the gun out, trying to get them to start, and they were false starting. So just a crazy. Yeah, it was just amazing to me, So
yeah, I remember.
I don't know
some battles doing the fly 30s, man. When you got all those guys, Arthur Davis, Steve Mullen, we just fast people.
Look, and I will tell you, I think my last year there was the 2000 SECs that we hosted, 2002 maybe, maybe 2002 we hosted SEC, and that was when Tennessee won the SEC men, and then they won the national championship. They had Justin Gatlin. We had 4 in the 200, and they had Justin and Leonard Scott, maybe. And, I mean, it was just that whole season watching those guys battle. I mean, and just watching Justin, geez, man. I mean, he ran 1987 or 1988 on that track at Mississippi State, the old track, not the new track. On a Saturday night at like 8:30 at night, and Bobby Rasco was the backup gun guy. I don't know if you remember Bobby Rasco used to do all the meets. Well, him and his father used to do all the meets, and up until last year, he's done all my high school meets, and he's in his 70s. So we still talk about that. He would still talk about how special that was for him, and he was the backup gunman, the extra gunman or whatever. So man, that was neat, and I don't know. I mean, this is a funny story that Marquise battled Achilles tendon problems all year, and he ended up winning. I think it was the next year. Justin had graduated, so it was one more year. So 2003, maybe. Marquise won the 100 meters and 200 meters at the SEC, and it battled Achilles problems, and we couldn't get it fixed. Wow. So we took some WD-40 and sprayed on his Achilles tendon, and told him that it was. We didn't tell him what it was, and he said, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." And he'll know now, but we sprayed some WD-40 on there to get him going, and he ended up doing real good. So a lot of people don't know about that, but I was the guy that sprayed it on there. We told him it was some I don't even know what we told him, but we sprayed some WD-40 on there, and that was the magic.
Take this advice if you're listening right now, or maybe you do. I don't know.
But we'd done ice treatments. They had done all kind of treatments and stuff, but we couldn't figure out what was wrong with it, man. He could barely walk sometimes and stuff. Yeah, mental. Yeah, we wrapped the can up. We didn't tell him what it was, and he asked me one time. He said, "Hey, he's getting ready to run SECs." He said, "Man, you got any of that salve or whatever it is?" I said, "Yeah, man. Let me spray this on here, man." I didn't tell him what it was, and man, he ended up running good. I mean, athletes' minds, man. You just it's all mental.
Wow, that's amazing.
So, but I ended up leaving Mississippi State, and actually Heath Dudley, Steve's little brother, Heath Dudley, gave me my first job at Jacksonville State University over in Jacksonville, Alabama, close to Anniston, Alabama. So they had a program for a couple of years, and the coach had left or something, and so they ended up hiring Heath Dudley, and he got me. We ran together, and so he wanted me to come over and be the sprints, hurdles, jumps coach, and so I went over there with him and spent 2 years there, and it was wonderful over there. Had a young lady that jumped 19.6 in the long jump.
Wow.
It was one of my, she had jumped 18 something when I got there and was injured. We had another young lady that had ran like 55, 54 in the 400 meter dash, and had run like 24 something. So we ended up getting her to go 23.99 in the 200, which was amazing.
Jeez.
Yeah, outdoors. And then she ran 53:15 in the 400 and won the OVC outdoors. So that was special to me. That was my first
Yeah.
athlete that I took from, zero
Right.
to a conference championship, battled injuries and, did all that stuff. And we had a great group of young ladies. And Heath ended up leaving to come to Mississippi to go to high school coaching. And I ended up going to Bevel State Community College for a year. Jason Marshall was coaching there, and he kind of needed a break. And, he was like, I don't know if I want to continue coaching. And so he did all the administrative stuff, traveling and all that stuff, and just allowed me to coach. And he would come, help out a little bit. And so, we had a phenomenal, you know how JUCO is, man. I love JUCO, man. I would go back to JUCO in a minute. We had 33 girls, and I coached 24 of them. We had a distance coach. I coached 24 of them, man. Wow. I loved it, man. From high jump to, javelin to all that. And we didn't have a track. Right. So we had to go, travel somewhere to do it, or we ran on the pavement or ran on grass. And so I ended up coaching Priscilla Gaines. She was a national champion in the long jump. Priscilla came to Mississippi State. So I coached her. I was only there for a year, and it was her second year. Ended up coaching a young lady, Giselle Rudolph, who ended up going to Troy University, and she was a two-time Sun Belt heptathlete champion, and she also could hurdle and triple jump. So I remember getting them out there and just working them in the grass, man, between classes, man, and then, just helping them all get to NAIA or Division I, Division II, Division III schools. So we had all 23 of them, I think, that I coached that wanted to go on. They ended up going on somewhere to, like I say,
that's
those various
awesome.
schools. But I'm gonna tell you what, it was nice, going in and coaching those kids and having a national champion and so in the long jump, and then having all those All-Americans, So what's neat is kind of fast forward and overlay a little bit is Valerie Brown. She is the coach at Austin Peay University. Valerie Brown, I coached her that year at Bevel State Community College, and then we ended up signing, or she signed with Troy University, but she had to spend another semester at Bevel State. Well, I got the job because of Valerie, because of Giselle, because of Priscilla, because of all of those young ladies. I got a job at Troy University. Troy University signed Giselle, signed another girl, signed Valerie. Well, Valerie had to spend another semester, so we had to re-recruit her. Well, Jill Lancaster was down there, and it just wasn't fitting in. We decided, hey, we didn't know we wanted to wait or to do this, and so we decided to go in another direction. And so Eric Jenkins was at Western Kentucky, and he saw her run at indoor nationals and was like he wants her, and she was already kind of committed to go to Troy. So when that fell through, I called Eric, and Eric jumped on it, and Valerie went and had a successful career at Western Kentucky, and now she's at Austin Peay doing a great job. So and then I went on down to Troy University and spent 2 years there. So
which always full disclosure is my alma mater. So this was the best time of JJ's life, being at the great Troy Trojans.
Well, and what's funny is at that time of my life, Troy University was my dream job. You know what I'm saying? Because of getting to know Bob Lambert over the years of my college coaching, watching him at Troy University, especially when I was at Jacksonville State. And I was like, man, you can get that job and make $50,000 a year. You could raise a family and live there. And, it's about developing the athlete. And if you get one kid to nationals and win your conference every year, you got job security for life. You don't have to bump around. And so I was at Bevel State, and I actually took a job in Olive Branch, Mississippi at Hernando Middle School. And Bob, I told Bob I was leaving for the summer. No, actually Jill Lancaster, that I was leaving for the summer. And Jill was like, what do you mean? You're not going to be coaching now? I was like, no, I took a job at a middle school in Hernando, Mississippi to get, close back to my family. And Jill said, hey, I'm going to call you back. So, that was like at, 11 o'clock that morning, we were talking about, hey, you know how it is when you coach junior college kids, here's some things that we need. We got one more class we got to correct, or we got to, pass before we get them onto the university or whatever. And so Jill called me back that evening, and, it was kind of like a conference call. Her and Bob was there, and Jill was like, hey, Bob wants to talk to you. Bob was like, hey, do you have your master's? And I'm like, yeah, I got my master's. And he was like, oh, okay. He's like, well, we want to get you down here to maybe be a grad assistant or find some money or do something. What can we do to get you down here? Don't take that job. Basically what he said. And, it's kind of like your grandfather talking to you, because Bob means a lot to me. He's done a lot for spiritual journey, give me a job, all those things. And he said, don't take the job. I'm like, well, okay. So I had to call back. And he's actually, one of our bosses at the county office now, Ben Alexander. I had to call Ben Alexander like, hey, that job I took this morning, I'm not going to take it now. I'm going to my dream job.
Wow.
And he was like, thank God you called me, because I was supposed to call the next person and tell her. He said, well, I'm going to tell her she's got it. I said, thank you so, man. So, and what's funny is, he's at the county office now. So every time I have to go for, like we won state, or they do a great thing here that if you win like the 4x1 at state or individual state, they bring you to the county office and they give you an award, and, they do a big presentation. So, we at least win one, individual championship each year. And so we go there, and every time he's there, we have to say a little speech, and I always turn to him and thank him for giving me my first job, even though I declined it. And we just laugh, it's just one of those funny things. But I ended up going down to Troy University, and, Bob just found some money for me to survive. Basically, got to live rent-free, and basically I taught jogging down there at Troy University. And so that gave me a little bit of money. I went to Pittsfield, Massachusetts for the summer with Daniel Hunter. We worked at an all-boys sports camp. Yeah, me and Daniel Hunter went to work at an all-boys sports camp. I went 3 summers. He went 2. And so, I was able to make a couple $1,000 and, survive off of that at Troy University. And then the next year, Bob retired, and Jill became the head coach. And so she hired me on full time. So I was able to work with her for a year. And, man, it was just awesome. With sprint and power and hurdles, I think she's one of the best, and really just good around. I mean, what she did with Tawana Meadows. I mean, Tawana's still running. Tawana, what she did with Tawana Meadows. We had a kid there named O'Darian Bassett that plays basketball. O'Darian jumped like 26'11", 27'1". What she did with him, like 2 days a week. I think he's still playing in Italy or somewhere in basketball. And what she did with Giselle, I mean, was amazing.
We all have our track and field memorabilia. I've got so I think this would have been the 08 Olympic trials, my tickets. They're kind of an art form if you don't break them up, so they're all together. And O'Darian Bassett signed it, autographed it for me with his with long jump or triple jump. I can't remember which one he made.
He did both of them, so I can't remember when he went to the trials. Yeah. So I can't remember what he did. What he did.
Well,
I can't remember.
As much as I would love to talk about Troy, and we could do a whole podcast just on Troy.
Maybe we'll do that one day.
Yeah, maybe we'll get like a conglomerate of all the Troy, because there's a lot of guys and gals that have gone through Troy as coaches and athletes, like Tawana you mentioned. A lot of great track people there. But what I really want to talk about here, JJ, is the unique side of this is, so it doesn't stop at Troy, and it doesn't move on from Troy to another XYZ university. You actually leave the college coaching ranks and go to back then, where we talked about Olive Branch, Mississippi, to teach elementary physical education, PE, and coach on their high school team. And you've been there for 12 years now.
12 years.
So talk to us about what was it like for the Center Hill High School track team when you got there, in regards to, did you guys have a facility? Were there very many? What was the track culture like? Those kind of things. Give us a picture of what Center Hill High School was 12 years ago for track.
So just kind of backtrack a little bit. I was at Troy University, and, I was finishing my second year up, and it was kind of like I had been, at Mississippi State, a grad assistant manager, 3 or 4 years, 2 years at Jacksonville State, a year at Bevel. Now I'm 2 years there. So what is that? 8 years into this game, 7 years. And I'm like, man, I know Troy is where I want to be, but Jill's here. Do I want to stay here for 10 years? Do I want to move on? And it was just one of those things that God intervened again. One of my friends called me up, and he was the athletic director, and we went to junior college together. We were rivals in high school, roommates at Mississippi State. And he called me up, and he was the athletic director, and he coached basketball. He said, and they had just built Center Hill High School, which is a brand new high school. And so this was the second year in, and it was, in May. And he said, hey, it's one of those deals, especially in Mississippi, and I'm sure it happens throughout the country, but especially in Mississippi, you got a football coach coaching the girls team, a boys team, and you got a girls basketball coach, and they did phenomenal jobs. Their basketball coach, it's one of those things. And he had coached here when it first started, and it's so hard getting it started that he didn't want to go through the next 10 years of having a coach 1 year or 2 or 3 years. They wanted to get out and hire a track coach. Well, my dream was that, as I told you earlier, coaching was not even on in my future or, on my radar. And, I definitely coaching at the college level. I figured one day, after I got my teaching coaching degree that, I'd be a high school coach or elementary coach or middle school coach, whatever it may be, and just live out that, great life there, and
Right.
I was just riding the college thing. Hey, I'm going to go with the flow, man, as long as it goes. And so he called me up and, it was in like April or May, and they were looking. It was a situation that the Miss Lisa Love, who was our elementary principal, called Mr. Loper, who was the high school principal, and he knew me, and said that they were looking for a male PE teacher because, education is so female dominant, especially at the elementary level, that they wanted a male there. They were also making a transition in DeSoto County where they hired one full-time certified PE teacher that was over 5 schools, and they would rotate each day to the school, and they had an assistant that they would teach the lesson to, and then she would teach it the next 4 days, and then you'd port back in. That's how they did that. So they were going full-time to having a certified PE teacher, there full-time. And so she called, basically he called Jonathan Moore. Jonathan called me and said, hey, man, you've always said my dream job, as opposed to Troy, would be teaching elementary PE, coaching high school track, making $50,000 a year. I'm like, man, I'll be rich, man. And so he called me, and there I was at Troy, making like $32,000. And he said, hey, we've got this job. I want you to be the track coach and cross country coach and the elementary PE job. And he's like, here's the pay scale. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was going to be making like $48,000. Like, Jesus, wow, I'm gonna be rich. You know how it is. Coming from JUCO where you made no money. Money. Troy was my big time job. I thought I was living large in Troy, making $32,000. Right. And here I am supposed to go to Olive Branch, Mississippi, closer to my parents, close to all my friends, close to Mississippi State. Right outside of Memphis. Making $48,000. And I'm like, man, let me think about this. And,
right.
So I said, well, let me just call. I prayed about it. I said, let me just call Miss Love. And I called Miss Love, and she was basically like, hey, Mr. Loper vouched for you, Coach Moore vouched for you. You got any questions for me? And I'm like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, the job's yours if you want it. Like, phone interview. Like, she's like, so that goes back to building relationships with people. Yeah. I built a relationship from college all the way up with my best friend. When I came up here, I always talked to his principal, and the principal, Mr. Loper, took Coach Moore's word because Coach Moore's word was bond for him. Miss Loper took Miss Love. You see what I'm saying? Like, like I trust Mike Cunningham. If you tell me to hire somebody, I ain't got to, because of the relationship you and I have. So that was just amazing. So I said, well, let me come up for an interview. So I came up for an interview, and when I walked in, I'm walking down the hallway, and one of my favorite quotes is, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. And she had a bulletin board in the hallway with just, hey, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. And I was like, man, this is the place for me. And so I walked in, me and her, I basically was interviewing her at the job about, what all I had to do is blah, blah, blah. And so I decided to take it. And then, that was one of the hardest things, to go back down there. And first of all, tell Jill. And then second of all, I had to go in and tell, Bob Lambert, who is like, just an amazing mentor who, retired early to make sure I could get a job, and, all this stuff. And so I had to tell them, and that was hard, but it was just part of my growth and where I need to be. I could have never imagined the journey of the last 12 years of where, this job has taken me, and what's crazy is, I'm gonna throw another name out to you. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. The first time I ever heard that was Curtis Fry say that to one of his athletes. Championship. We're standing at the gates, because I always would find myself standing around Curtis Fry, or I would stand around, Vince from Texas A&M. And when he was at Tennessee, I love Vince. Just a amazing coach. I would always watch these coaches, and I'm trying to pick up every little gem from them. I don't know what other people did, but that's what I did when I was a manager and even a coach. I would pick up, and Curtis said that to the athlete. He was like, it's meant to be. And before he finished it, his athlete repeated it back to him, and then went out. Of course, his athletes in South Carolina always just, and I was like, man, I'm going to use that, man. Like, I love that. And I still use it to this day, even with my athletes. I think that's just a special bond. Like, if it's meant to be, and your athlete goes, it's up to me, and then they go out and they give, their very best, whether they win at the race or not. But, I still use that as one of my top 10 quotes.
Yeah, I like that. So, I like the give and take of it. It's not just you
Yeah,
barking a quote to an athlete. It's I
right,
say one side of it, and then their response is their
right.
responsibility side of it. You mentioned, really watching and learning from guys like Curtis Fry and Vince Anderson, and I'm sure Pat Henry and Dennis Shaver at LSU and
Oh
those
yeah,
guys as well. Was there other? And you mentioned you did level one. Did you ever do level twos or other level ones? Where
yeah.
did your coaching education come from?
Actually, and I guess maybe you helped put it on. I did level 2 at Starkville. I did jumps under boot. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I think you put it on when you were at Starkville. Was that 2004,
Yeah, the
2005?
summer of 2004, I believe.
Yeah, yeah,
I helped, of course, because we hosted. I
yeah.
actually did. I did combined events there, and I think I also did ITC, the instructor's training course, because that's where I first started. I got certified so I could start teaching. I taught level ones for years after that.
Yeah, and what's neat is Nick Fortenberry is a coach up here at CBU. Well, I went through level 2 with Nick Fortenberry and started that relationship there. And of course, he was a teammate at LSU with Keith Powell. So it's just amazing how all these relationships that you've developed in the track and field coaching world that is just simply, amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I want to thank. I'm not sure if Hassan went through that or not. Hassan Stamps. I can't, of course I knew him from LSU. I can't remember if he went through that level 2 or not.
Right.
I think I can't remember if he did or not. But anyway, some of those guys like that, man, just getting to know those guys like
That's
that.
awesome.
Coach Alex passed away, back in February or whatever. And so I waited a couple of weeks, man. I just was emotional. I couldn't post it. And I posted a thing on Instagram. Of course, all the Mississippi State athletes reached out. His daughter did. And I
His
was able to,
daughter, I saw
yeah,
that.
to reply. Yeah, I was able to reply to her. But I'm gonna tell you what, Willie Randolph down there at Florida Atlantic.
Atlantic. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he reached out to me, and I mean, I met him when he was way back at Vanderbilt. I think we were at regionals in Ohio, and or maybe no, he wasn't. But he was at Vanderbilt then, and of course he went to University of New Orleans, and he went to Minnesota, and now he's down there. I don't know if you watch his Instagrams every day. He's healthy, working out. Man, he's just an amazing person. But he reached out to me, man. We had a little conversation back and forth, and you met that guy 20 years ago. He didn't have to reach out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, and here he is, a college coach. Even though we kind of came along, and knew each other and hung out at coaches' clinics and stuff. I mean, so here's a college coach reaching out. I
Well, I
can't
think
do
it's
nothing for him.
the
Relationship.
real story there is that's that relationship, and that relationship really was the glue. There was Coach Alex. That was your
Right, right.
commonality with Coach Randolph there. That's awesome, man. So tell me more about Center Hill when you got there, and you said it was a
So,
new school a couple years ago before you got there.
yeah, so basically they built a school, and so it was 2 years old. So I came in as year 3. And it's basically like when you're starting any program, getting the athletes out. We were in a phase there where, the basketball coach, Coach Moore coached the girls basketball team. So he made them run track, like we got to have a team. So you made them run track. And so when I got there, I was like, let's don't make them do that. Let's, if they want to run track, let me recruit them. Let me build this. And so we didn't do that. When I said, it's hard if you make them run track and you're coaching them basketball. Now, if you're coaching them, yeah, that's different. I said, let's
Right.
scratch that. Let me just build. And so the first year, I think we had like 18 boys, maybe like 17 boys, and like maybe 9 to 12 girls. And so, I mean, it was just tough. I mean, I got there, and the previous boys coach, he left at the end of the year, but he stayed and helped me coach. And so I asked him, and a great guy, great coach. I said, hey, coach, where the pole vault mats at? And he's like, oh, we don't put the pole vault mats out. And I'm like, we don't put the pole vault mats out. Why? He's like, yeah, we got some brand new ones, man. They're in the shed. I'm like, well, why? He's like, we don't have pole vaulters. I'm like, well, coach, if we don't put out the pole vault mats, we ain't never going to have no
How you gonna
pole
get pole
vaulters.
vaulters?
So, and it was so, Mike, this was so crazy. Like me coming from the college level, practicing, 6 days a week or 7 days a week, if you have decathlons and decathletes and heptathletes and, Sunday runs, that I said, okay, well, this is crazy. And I never coached high school. So I had to learn, no matter if you're at the college level, AU, NAIA, Division 1, 2, or 3, there's dynamics. High school, you have to learn. I don't care how good you are, the coaching aspect, but the dynamics of how they do things. So I said, oh my gosh. So we didn't put out the pole vault mats. I was like, all right, this is over their head. So, all right, we practiced on Mondays. Okay. The girls did. Well, actually, this is what we did. The football players, because they practiced fourth block, the buses, and I drove a bus, we pulled out. Well, I didn't, at that time I wasn't driving a bus. The buses pulled out at 3:45. So at 3:15, fourth block, the football players would come over there and we'd run like a 300, 200, 100 all out. And then they would just run to the dressing room, get dressed, and get on the bus. The girls would come. And so I'm trying to teach them that. On Tuesday, it was like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Everybody practiced on Thursday. So the boys would practice all day on Tuesday. The girls wouldn't. So they only practiced Monday and Thursday. The boys usually practice Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. So, it was the way it was. Nobody practiced on Friday. There was no Saturday practice. And I remember when I said, hey, we're going to practice on Saturdays, we had like 5 people quit. Like,
quit. Just quit.
The girls was like, I ain't coming on Saturday. You ain't going to have it. I was like, oh my God. So, that was the first year. It was just, it was no spring break practice. It was like Friday, and there was no meet. We hosted one meet on a Friday as a fundraiser with like 4 teams. So the next year, I'm like, all right, let's put out the pole vault mats. So I'm like, where's the pole vault?
On that first year, and I love, you made a really good point there. Sometimes we forget about that, sometimes we like to say coaching is coaching, but you're right. There is a difference in what you can do and how you can do it in the high school. And I'm not talking about the rules. I'm talking about the culture, really, of high school.
Culture, the athletes.
Coaching, yeah. So on that first year, did anybody qualify for state? Like, where was the status?
Actually, that's a funny story. And she ended up going to Mississippi State. But the first year, Janika Buckhalter qualified in the long jump. She jumped like 18-10. She was a 5'4" high jumper. She was already a phenomenal athlete before I got there. I was just able to clean some things up. And so, she qualified and for state meet. What's funny is we go to district, right? And I have a few. You do district, and then you top 4 qualify for regionals in the state of Mississippi. Top 4 individual events qualify to go on to North State. Top 4 in the 100. So you have the North and the South. And you end up with 8 lanes at the state meet. So we go to the district meet, and I'm talking about. I think we were 10 out of 10 teams, man. It was crazy. And the kids gave me everything they got. We just didn't have enough.
That's where you were, right?
We had. You're going against teams that had 40 girls on the team, and we got 9. And we were
0 points in the pole vault.
Yeah, 0 points in the pole vault. That's no points. And so, it was crazy, man. So we go to the district. Yeah.
10 out of 10 of the district. You finished your first year there.
Something like that. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. No, that's
the district.
And
then we had a couple of people qualify for regionals, and like they didn't make it on. And then Janika qualified. And what's so crazy is we had to take a minibus with her, and like I had to go recruit like one of her friends to ride with her so she wouldn't be by herself. And then so it rained at the regional meet. So me, the athletic director that hired me, Janika, and then one of her friends are just hanging out on the bus. And then they canceled the meet at Oxford. And Janika rides home with her mama and her friend. So I'm on this yellow, it wasn't a yellow bus, it was a minibus. So I got to drive home by myself. And I was like, oh my gosh, why did I leave Troy? What
right.
I've never. And so then we go to the North State meet. So same thing, I take the minibus and it's me, her, and her friend. And then, she qualifies for state. And again, I had to drive the minibus home by myself. Luckily it was at Oxford. So thank God it was at Oxford. That's only an hour away.
Right.
So then we go to the state meet. So it's kind of like it's on a Friday. So I take the driver's ed car home and we get down there and I meet her and her mom at the track meet. This is crazy as ever. And like she places in the 100, she places in the high jump and she places in the long jump, third, whatever it may be. And that was the first year of state meet. So the next year we get few more people qualify for the regional meet. A few more people qualify for the North State meet. And I think we had a couple of girls make it down to the state meet and like a couple of boys. And that's just where we started, man. And
did you, on that second year, did you bring out the pole vault pits?
Yes, we did. So basically, and I laugh to this day, just last year, a coach in a rival school and maybe 2 years ago, they were talking, they were like, hey man, we've got a pretty good pole vault program. Because we've invested in it, man. I think, we started with 2 poles, and one of them, it's this big pole that, like, you got to be 200 pounds to get. I think it's a 185, like 16 foot. Like, what? Nobody can get on that pole.
What is that doing there?
That's the pole. that's the pole that we had here. And then they had a girls pole that really our boys that are like, weigh 130 get on, and that was the 2 poles they had. And now we probably got 25 poles over 12 years, that are specific for kids or whatever that we bought. We even got some poles that we trade back and forth. But I was talking to a rival coach, and he was asking, he's like, man, how do we get our pole vault poles like you? I said, well, man, I got an 11-year head start on you. I said, but what you do is, first of all, you put your pits out. And he started laughing. He's like, yeah, we got them out. I said, then you get your poles and you go lay them over there, and kids will just walk up to you and go, what is that? And you go, here's a pole. Let me show you what to do. And you start off in the sand pit and then grow from there. I mean, that's how it started. Like the next year, we had we put the pole vault mats out, and I brought out that big pole, and I had 2 kids that almost killed themselves. They were like, hey, coach, what is this? So I told them out in the sand pit. They ended up going 10 feet. We got them some poles. They ended up going 10 feet that year, man. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, they started, 2 boys, and 2 boys grew to 3 and 4. And then, the same thing that year we had the coach that had previous coach left school. His daughter was real good, moved from Arkansas, and he taught her, and she was I think she ended up going 9 feet. So the next year or 2, and that started our program. And, here we are now, you got 10 boys over there 12 years later, pole vaulting. You got 7 or 8 girls over there pole vaulting. And we just, we grew it from there. It was crazy.
I love the lesson there about just put the poles over there, and kids will curiosity will go over there, instead of the coach trying to force an athlete like, hey, you know what, you'd be good at the pole vault. When it's the coach's idea, it's never good, right? But when it's the kid's idea, they take ownership of it. I love that lesson of let the kids' natural curiosity when you're starting a program for vaulting. Let the kids' natural curiosity carry them over to the vaulting and see like it.
Yeah, I was talking to Jaquarius Wilson. He's like a son of mine. He was an athlete at Mississippi State and actually scored, his senior year. But he still laughs. He came out his 10th grade year to track and was instantly just all of a sudden going 11 feet in a pole vault. Well, I had 2 guys that were going 10 and a half, and I'm like, hey, they can't do any other events, but they're going to score at state. I need you to high jump, triple jump, and whatever. And to this day, he's like, I turned out to be a pretty good pole vaulter in college, even though you wouldn't let me pole vault in high school. Because back then we could only enter 2 kids. I was like, yeah, I needed them points in the triple jump, long jump, high jump. And we still laugh about this day about that. Now we can enter 3 kids per event. So, when we moved from 2 kids per event to 3 kids per event, that changed the dynamics, because there was a couple of years that, I had to leave a, 16 flat hurdle girl, she couldn't run the hurdles at district because you had 2 girls running, 1550 or 1585, Now, you can't get 3 girls, just how the years go. I mean, there were some years that, you had 3 girls that could high jump 5'2", and one of them's got to stay home at district,
Right.
So
So fast forward a little bit, because you mentioned the first year you had about 17 boys and about 9-10 girls. As you started having more and more success, and you're actually pole vaulting now and things like that, as you get closer to the year that you won the state title, did the number of kids that joined the team increase as well?
Yeah, because basically, I spent all those years at the college level recruiting. I said, man, I got to get in these hallways and recruit. So that's what I do. I mean, I can't count how many kids. I get. I'm laughing. I got a kid this year. I've literally asked him to do track for 5 years since he was in 7th grade, and he came out this year to do it. And of course, the corona set in.
Oh.
We were laughing about that the other day. He's a junior, so he'll come back next year and do it. But anyway, I mean, that's what you do. You go through the hallways and you just say, are you doing any sports? And they'll say no. Up here, dance and cheer are huge, in North Mississippi. Like our dance and stuff is huge. So I'll sit outside of dance tryouts and stuff, and I'll, whether they make it or don't make it, I'm like, we'll take you in track and field, baby. And, I just recruit those kids like crazy. I mean, I literally, I remember we had a hurdler a couple of years ago, and she had never done like high school sports. And I saw her and her mama in Dollar General, and I'd had her in elementary PE. And I was like, hey, you going to do track next year? And she's like, no, 10th grade year. Hey, you going to do track next year? No, 11th grade year. And in like October, I'm like, hey, I got track coming up. You going to come out with track? Yeah, I think about doing it. And she ended up being a pretty good hurdle her junior and senior year. So it took me 2 years of talking to her, recruiting. I mean, I don't know what other high school coaches do, but I know in the state of Mississippi, you got to do some recruiting, in your hallways to get those kids out. And then, I teach elementary PE. So a lot of times I can get kids to come and do track and field because I have a relationship with them from elementary PE or coaching their brother or sister. So here you are, I'm coaching, I've been here 12 years. So I'm coaching your brother, you know, a couple of years ago, then I'm coaching your middle brother. And here you are in elementary, you know, you're in my elementary PE. And the next thing you know, you're coming to track meets and you're running around. Then, you know, I do my elementary track camp, which we have about, you know, some years it's 100 kids, some years it's about 70, you know, and I'll do a 3-week. Oh yeah. We'll do a 3-week track camp, from 6:30 to 7:30, 2 days a week. And basically what I do is do stations. You know, I'll put out the little bitty hurdles that Vince, you know, did, you know, with the wickets, and I'll have them like running over it. And yeah, man, you know, well, I made these out of PVC pipe. I had a parent that made them for me. So they're basically the little bitty hurdles. And so we'll put those over there. We'll let them long jump. I've got the scissor hurdle, the Gill scissor hurdles that I love, best thing in the world. And we'll put those scissor hurdles up and, you know, let them run and just kind of, I mean, they're down low, so they're running hurdle, do some relay exchanges. I'll get over there in one of the sand pits and we'll get a pole vault pole and we'll just have the kids stick it in there and I'll guide them up and then let them go and let them land it. So, you know, all of that you've been doing for 12 years, you know, you got a kid in 3rd grade, you know, in 5 years they're going to be in 8th grade or, you know, 6 years, 9th grade. So now they're like, hey, I did this, you know, in elementary PE, you know, and I do a track, you know, 2 or 3 week track lesson where we do stuff like I bring the starting blocks over there. We put them in the PE room. They ain't perfect, but the kids are getting excited about getting it. We do the hurdles. We do the relay exchanges. A couple of years ago, now it hadn't worked out the last couple of years, but you have Oak Park Elementary that feeds into Center Hill Middle and Center Hill High School. Then you have Center Hill Elementary, where both K through 5th. So I got with a PE teacher over there. And so we did one day where she took kindergartners and had 3 relay teams. I took kindergartners, had 3 relay. And we did that kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, one day. And then we did 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And I gave out ribbons and we did the 4x1 over there. And so now you got, you know, kids remembering that and going, wow, you know, they're still talking about it, you know.
JJ,
and some of them now are like the 6th grade.
I love how you're building the affinity and love of track and field at a young age. You know, these kids get hit with football commercials and baseball commercials and basketball, and here you are growing the sport of track and field. That's amazing.
Just a pure love. I mean, they got to get out of school for 2.5 hours. I mean, they loved it. I mean, it was just, I mean, who doesn't want to get that, right? You know, and I went over and picked them up. You know, I took our kids over, dropped them off, and I had to drive about, you know, 15 minutes out of the way to get Center Hill Elementary and pick those guys up and did. So when you got that going on, then, you know, I host about 8 track meets a year, home meets, counting the North State regional district meets. Well, every year in April, it's the first weekend of April, right before district, we host our big home meet, which is the last home meet of the year. And so I basically send out an email and I send out flyers. And I think the most we've ever had is maybe 150 to 200 kids come and run. We'll do the 100, 200, and the 400 meter dash. And if you can walk, I mean, I've got 2-year-old babies running the 100 meters and they're getting their little ribbon. I mean, Bobby Rasco's out there shooting the gun. I mean, we've got club teams coming from Memphis just to run their kids, just to get them excited. And, of course, we've got a big track meet going on that day, 8 teams. We're doing a crawfish boil. We're doing a drawing, you know, $500 drawing. So it's kind of like, I call it my mini pin relays. I'm trying to create that wow factor. I'm trying to dazzle them with, you know, a track and field experience. That's what I want to win. But let's give an experience at the home. That's what all my parents talk about. You know, we got a DJ, you know, and if I don't have the DJ, I got my music playing, you know, in every meet. You know, we're playing music the whole meet, you know, because I want it to be like Penn Relays. I want it to be like Texas Relays. You know, I want it to be those things.
I tell you, you have taught me something, because back in 2008 at the Olympic trials in Eugene, you know, the trials are like 4 days and then 2 days off and then 4 more days. And, you know, I'm up there for all 10 and actually plus days. So on the 2 days off, I remember going to the track to get something. And so there's no meet going on. It's the 2 off days. And as I'm walking up to Hayward Field, I hear the announcer say, all right, 6-year-old 100 meter dash, you're on the line. 5-year-old 100 meter dash, you're on deck. And I was like, man, only in Eugene, Oregon are they having 5-year-old 100 meter dashes. I was wrong. You're doing 2-year-old 100 meter dashes in Olive Branch, Mississippi.
Hey, we'll do it, baby. You know, we're going to run the 1, the 2. They love their ribbons, man. I mean, and I'm going to tell you, it was a couple of years ago that that April meet we did. I've got a picture. We have a guy, Mr. Tom, is amazing. He works for FedEx, but he's an amazing photographer on the side. And so he's just adopted Center Hill over the last, 5, 6, 7 years, and does football, basketball, everything. Well, he comes and does track meets, and like he'll do a matted frame and everything for like $4. Just to, he ain't trying to make no money off of it. He flies for FedEx, and he catches some amazing photos.
Wow.
Well, it was sleeting, Mike, in late April. It was like 27 degrees out there, and we're trying to do the meet. We got the crawfish bowl. We pre-sold and selling 1,200 pounds of crawfish. We make a lot of money off of it. It's a big fundraiser. Oh yeah, man, we big time, Mike. And
wow.
We pre-sold and sold 1,200 pounds of crawfish. And that makes us $4,000 for our track program. I mean, that's huge. That pays for a lot of stuff. And so it's sleeting out there, and he's got a picture, and I put it on my Instagram every year. And you got me, and I'm bundled up, and you've got these kindergarten girls that are 5 years old. They're on the line. They're getting ready to start the 400, and I mean, they're killing themselves to get that first place ribbon. You've got 3 guys that were maybe in first grade or whatever, and they're coming around the 200-meter mark, and he got a great picture, and they're bundled up, and you can see the sleet, and they're running. So imagine 10 years from now when they get to high school, they're running for the pure love of it. They're just running, with their friends, and they're enjoying the day. The same thing, we got some pictures of some parents with their 2-year-old or 1-year-old walking behind them, running the 100-yard, making memories. So it's the families making memories, the kids, and it's for the pure love of it. I think that's what happens a lot of times when we get to the college level. When you get professional, we forget about the experience of it. We forget about the relationships. We forget about the love. And I wonder how many coaches, there's sometimes I hadn't loved coaching, that we forget about that. I think that's what's so good about now. We're able to reflect about the memories. And at the end of the day, think about all your athletic events. You remember the bus rides. You remember the fun times. That's, you can't tell who won or lost. You remember the ride. You don't remember specific times and stuff. You remember the ride and the experience. And that's what I want to provide, for my elementary kids, my high school kids, and the middle school kids that we work with, give them that experience and hosting meets,
Well, I love the work you're doing from 2-year-olds and up. And obviously as a PE teacher, you're doing a ton of work and building up the sport of track and field in your area. And we mentioned you had, 17 boys, you had 27 kids, basically 30 kids on the team when you first started. What kind of numbers do you pull now for your track team?
We average, even this year, and a lot of times, I'm a little old school. So if your grades are not right, if your conduct's not right, you're not going to make it with me. So this year my athletic director laughs at me. I do a 2-day tryout, and we do it in the hallways. So basically we do warm up, and then I sit and talk to them and get their names and give them paperwork and start checking grades. So when we did the tryout this year, we had 130 kids. So,
holy cow.
130 kids. So by the time, and we've averaged the last couple of years, almost 120 kids, 60 boys, 60 girls. It may be one year where I have 72 kids, 72 boys, and, 52 girls, and again, it dwindles though. Cause, I send them away. I'm like, all right, your grades are bad. You got to come back and see me in 3 weeks. And I check grades every Thursday. You got in a fight at school? Well, that lets me know you don't want to be on the track team. Sorry. I don't care how good you are. And a lot of coaches don't do that. And I get a lot of flack for it. Some people support it. Some people don't. It is what it is, but I'm not going to change. It's a privilege to do after school athletics, and grades are first, as I tell people. And I heard a coach say this, in the NCAA manual, when I had to, we had to read that manual and, take the clearing test and all that, 800,000 words in there, and 500,000 times it says student athletes, right? It don't ever say athlete. Right. It says student athlete. Right. So that's one thing I said when I came here. My philosophy is going to be character and academics. I ain't worried about your performance. I'll keep every kid that comes out there. I don't care what your performance level is, your talent level is. It's about you having a great 4-year, 3-year, 2-year, 1 year, whatever. When you come, having a great experience and learning some lifelong skills. That's my main goal. And if we win, that's great. That's just icing on top of the cake. But I'm convinced if you do those things consistently, winning is going to be a byproduct. because if you do the right things day in and day out, academically, athletically, and have great character, you got no choice but to win. I mean, it's just going to happen.
Well, I think you can, it's one thing to say that, JJ.
Oh, yes.
And it's one thing to say a lot of things, right, about character and stuff like that. And, if you do these things, the winning will take care of itself. But then there's another thing to actually show it. And I think, was it 2018? Did I get my
Yes,
year
the
right?
girls won. Yep.
So in 2018, what you just said actually came true. So you
Yes.
build a love of sport of track and field, you build character, you build academics. And in 2018, Center Hill High School wins the girls state championship for the state of Mississippi.
I mean, when I first came there, and what's crazy is I've got some siblings on the staff during that time from their brothers or their sisters running to me. And I use the, I'm a big movie buff. I love movies. So I use the We Are Marshall. When I first came here, I remember, we did an athletic banquet. And, track and field didn't do no athletic banquet, during that time. They usually roped it in with the basketball coach and stuff or whatever, or they didn't have one. I give out awards. I have a long list of awards. The best sprinter, the best hurdler. I have the best academic award. We have the best humanitarian award. We have the, never give up award. Your best jumper, your long jumper. Whatever it may be. Because you have two teams. 60 boys, 60 girls. And what was neat was that just validated, what you said. If we work hard, if we're disciplined, do what we're supposed to do, we will have success. When I first came here, I told everybody, I said, one day we'll be like every other program. I didn't know it was going to happen. I figured I'd be gone by the time that, I would lay the foundation. I said, we'll be like the Pearl, Mississippi, Woody Barnett I looked up to. We'll be like, Coach Kendricks over at Oxford when he was the head coach there. Now, he's coaching his son Sam, and, Chris Patton and Chris Bush carried on that tradition. I said, we'll be like Oxford. We'll be like where winning matters. I said, one day, I remember we had the banquet, and, 30 people came to it. Like I had some seniors didn't even come to the banquets. They got an award because it just wasn't a thing the first year. It wasn't, they didn't ride the bus back home. All these things that, now, oh my gosh, I mean, geez, we're spending $2,000 on food for a banquet, and $1,000 on awards. I mean,
how much of that is crawfish?
All that is paid for by the crawfish.
I was wondering how much crawfish you ate at the banquet.
Oh, no. There's no banquet. There's no crawfish at the banquet. We do, pasta and other stuff. But, yeah, all the money raised from the crawfish does that. But, I mean, it's just amazing. Like, I told everybody, like, one day we'll be like every other team. And, it's amazing that we're there now. That, this year would have been – the girls have won 9 straight district titles. They've won 3 straight regional titles as of last year, back-to-back North State titles, and, of course, not last year but the year before, won the state title. The boys won 7 straight district titles. We took a year off because that was a rough year, Mike. I had to get rid of a bunch of boys, a lot of discipline, that I easily could have won district if I kept them, but I was like, you know what? If we don't, and we only lost district by a couple of points and ended up winning regions and our county championship that we wasn't supposed to with that boys. We had 0, we didn't score any points in the sprints. Wow. We did all field events and distance. But anyway, to do that and then come back and they won 8, and this would have been their 9th one. I feel pretty confident we win. We got some good teams in our district, but I think we would have won just off our culture and our tradition. That's what carries us, and we attack other, we attack I'm just not a sprints coach. I coach the distance. I coach the jumps. I coach pole vault and everything. Now I have a great pole vault coach that comes in and volunteers. He vaulted in college. His sons both have been good pole vaulters for me. I have a great football coach that coaches the throws. We have a great distance coach. And then I come in and I'm like their assistant. Like, hey, you need me to time of day? All right, hey, this is what we need to correct, or here's some things. I'm not just over there doing all aspects of it. I go down there and like my every year, my shot put and my discus, I'm like, all right, guys, how many discus do we need this year? How many shot puts do we need this year? And I mean, we're buying those Gill stainless steel shot puts that are $140. We ain't buying these $19 ones. So when you do that with your kids, because a lot of times you go to programs, I don't care what level, you have those forgotten about events that don't seem like they're important. And like my throwers are just as important as we're all important as a team. And then we're all important to our individual points and what we contribute to the team. And I think if you do that and you build a family, then I'm down there watching and videotaping the shot putters and distance. I'm down there watching it and videotaping the high jumper and helping them and getting the coach. I'm not just doing one event. I think so many coaches, and especially the high school coach, just go, oh, I'm a distance coach. No, you a coach, man. You want to be successful, you got to coach it all.
Yeah, I would definitely describe you as an athlete's coach, meaning that it is athlete first. What can I do to help that athlete succeed on and off the track? So you mentioned one day you'll make it and winning will be important and things like that. So that happened in 2018. When you started the 2018 season, did you have any inkling that you might have a team good enough to win state?
It's one of those things that I would like to sit back and say, yeah, but Mike, my mother told me this one time, like, I enjoy practice. Like, I wish I would have been a good enough athlete that where, you know how you see in the Rocky movies, like, he's got somebody training with him, a sparring partner.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was like, man, I could have made me, I would have been like, hey, this athlete, we're going to pay you $50,000 a year to lift weights with me, run with me, exercise with me. Like, I'm a grinder. Like, to me, success is not, yes, winning the state championship was great, but seeing all those young ladies go to college or seeing a lot of those girls on that team win or win academic awards or be in the Hall of Fame, or just seeing, I had a young lady on that team that we had to remove from the team her 10th grade year because she was just wilding out. And for her to come back her senior year, she came back her junior year and her senior year and was phenomenal for us. And I still talk to her parents. It's like they removed her from all this and then they allowed me to remove her from track. She wasn't doing anything bad, but just that was a crucial time in her life that changed the direction of her life. That where she wasn't bad, but she was just doing some things she shouldn't have been doing. And for her to cry, it's like, yeah, Coach JJ had to remove me from the team, and then here we are. He never gave up on me. He never did that. It was not about winning the state championship. It was about he did what was best for me to help me become a young lady. And that, it's a saying that we have at Center Hill, building champions for life. And that's not winning trophies. We're building champions for life, and we're building them champions for everyday life. And as I told the girls, it's just, I knew that we had a good team because the year before we had scored a lot of points and was like fourth. And I'm like, we got all these kids returning. And when you have a young lady that can go in there and score 40 points, that changed the whole dynamics of any team. Cameron McClellan, who's, she's at Austin P now, running for Valerie Brown. So that's, you coached Valerie Brown all these years ago at Bevel State Community College, and here she is recruiting and signing, one of your girls. And Cameron's dad coached her. She was a phenomenal athlete. I probably did more life coaching than her, and her dad helped out with all the technical stuff. But anytime you take a kid into the state championship and she's going to win the triple jump, the long jump, the 100 hurdles and 300 hurdles for you, 4 individual events, you got to feel pretty good.
That's pretty good.
It's kind of that, ace in the hole, as they say, the joker in spades. You're sitting there holding that. But those girls were so humble. A lot of those kids, they wasn't always the best athletes. And what was neat to me, and I get teared up about it, is a large majority of those girls and that team, and even the boys team did real good. They had a great meet. They started in elementary PE with me, and a lot of them did my elementary track camp.
Wow.
I do the elementary track camp, which is 3 weeks long. They get a shirt in their bag, and they did that track camp. And what's amazing, even for Cameron McClellan, she was definitely our star athlete from day one. She was so humble. She outworked everybody. She wasn't vocal. But in the 6th grade, when we did our 400-meter dash, all the girls on that team, just beat her. And she came over to me and was crying in the 6th grade. And I said, hey, baby, don't cry. Don't let them see you cry. You just go to work and beat all of them. Well, it only took her about 3 years, and she was the best on the team in what she did. So it was neat for her as a 6th grader to some adversity, and then her just go to work over the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade. And she was so humble, and for her to give up, because we would have been a lot better on the relays with her. For her to go, I'll do it for the team, Coach. I'm going to do some individual stuff, because we hadn't really done that. But she came to me and was like, Coach, I can long jump, because we hadn't long jumped before. She ended up long jumping, 19.4, 19.6 as a high schooler, 38, 39, 39.10 as a high school, 14.52 the 100-meter hurdles, 45.02. And, of course, she's blasting everybody.
Right.
She's ahead of everybody. And, it was just amazing watching all those kids grow. Had a young lady on the track team. that she quit soccer her 9th grade year. And the coach said, all right, I'll let you quit soccer only if you run track for Coach JJ. And so I called her mom on the phone. It's like, she's got to run track or coaching. And then we turn her into an amazing athlete, and she's on the 4x1, 4x2, 4x4 that helps her win state her senior year. I mean, it was just spectacular, man.
Was you said it was a pretty new school, so this was obviously the girls' first state championship for track and field.
Yeah, for track and field. They had won a couple. They had a real good young lady that ended up going to Mississippi State to play golf. They won a couple of championships with her in golf, and then dance had won some stuff. No boys had won any team championship. So you had golf and dance, and that's basically it. So
now I'm going to embarrass you. I'm going to embarrass you a little bit because I know you don't want to talk about this, but you bring home a state championship trophy. That's a big deal as a coach for your school. What did the athletic director say to you? What were the accolades that you received?
Oh, they were there. My athletic director was there, and actually what they did is the assistant athletic director is also our basketball coach. He was there. He was there taking pictures all day, and of course they split. He left, and the coach. What's crazy though is the day before we leave to go to the meet. We don't leave. It's high school, so you don't always get to leave. We get almost to Batesville from Olive Branch, so it's about a 4-hour drive down to the state meet. We're gonna go down and stay the night. We get to Batesville and there's a car wreck, so we're stuck in traffic for an hour. So I'm like, let's just go in here and we'll go get something to eat, and eat at the restaurant. And we get to the hotel at like 10:30 at night. Well, getting kids settled down. It was 12 o'clock before they were all, settled down. Well, the next day we get up, it's raining. Cats and dogs. I mean, it is the worst rain ever. So they postponed the meet like 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
Hours. So, Mike, we're running the 4x4 at like 9:45 at night at the state meet. So by the time, 1A, 3A, 5A, everybody runs, they calculate everything. 1A boys and girls gets award, 3A boys and girls gets award. Then finally 5A. Of course, our athletic director is awesome. Coach Peacock was there, did a great job. My principal, Mr. Payne, he still calls me Coach of the Year because, I don't like to brag, but I got, you get Coach of the Year for winning state, and then I also got like a regional Coach of the Year for the USA, TC, all that stuff.
Oh,
They sent a nice glass, track that's, from there. So I was like regional Coach of the Year. Then I was like MAC Coach of the Year. And it was all because of the girls. I mean, like I tell the kids, if you're not enough without those trophies, you'll never be enough with them.
Boy, say that louder for the people in the back right there.
Yeah, I tell the girls all the time, if you're not enough without the trophy, you'll never be enough with it.
Wow.
And I was just telling some kids the other day, I said, if I want to buy a house this year, I can't go get that track trophy and walk into the lender and go, here's all my coaching accolades. Here's this. Can I buy,
but I was Coach of the Year. Give me the loan.
I was Coach of the Year, man. What? I coached at Troy, at Bevel. I coached these kids. Let me get $200,000. They're gonna laugh at my face and go, "What's your credit score? What's your job history? How well do you pay your bills?" And so, yes, this stuff is important. And like I tell my girls and my guys all the time, that winning a state championship is important. But when you get married, when you graduate from college, when you have this and that, I said in 30 years, yeah, you'll remember winning it, but it won't rank as high. It should always be special, but you'll remember the day. You'll remember, the dance, and you'll remember this. And that, now when we get together, the girls come back to the banquet. The girls come back to practice during spring break with me because a couple of them are running in college now. And, all we talk about is the fun times. It's not about like I'm a state champion or this and that. That fades. I mean, I don't care if it's a national championship, a Super Bowl champion. It's about the ride. It's about the journey. Life is about the journey.
So what is you won in 2018. It was amazing. I remember calling you up right after, man. I was so proud of you. Still am. Has anything changed since then? Of course, we lost the season this year, which sucks.
Yeah. That was special that you called. Derek Paul called. I mean, for you and Derek to call, and he's working with Gil full time. I mean, that just shows how great Gil Athletics is. And I guess Gil was working with Gil, but he had his own stuff, I guess.
Right, he was a dealer of ours.
He was a dealer in selling Gill products. But for two of you guys to call, I mean, that was just amazing. Everybody reached out, and it was just and I was calling a lot of people. Man, I called a lot of alumni. You know, I called a lot of people, and they were like, "Why aren't you calling me?" And I was like, "Man, you helped build this program." Old coaches, the guy that helps do the apparel, like I called him up, and Chad was like, "Why are you calling me?" I was like, "Man, we won the state championship this day. I just want to tell you thank you for everything you've done." And it goes back to there was an old guy that was shot down like Vietnam or something, and he never thought about the guy that packed his parachute, like how important that guy was. And so for the last, I don't know, 22 years that I've been in coaching, there's been a lot of guys and a lot of men and women that have been packing my parachute. A lot of athletes, a lot of assistant coaches, a lot of administrators, family members, friends that have been packing that parachute that I was able to jump out of the plane and safely land that day and, you know, drive the bus down there and us win the state championship. So, you know, a lot of people, you know, we always think it's about, I did this. Man, you didn't do nothing. You know, I didn't run any races that day. The girls did. The girls won that state championship. I just helped open the door years earlier. The same way Coach Alex opened the door for me, Coach Smith, Steve Dudley, Jill, Bob, I remember coming and staying in the hotel room with you and going through level one again just to listen to you talk about hurdles. And I appreciate that, man. That was back when I was at Jacksonville State. You were like, why does this guy want to come up here and go through, level one again? I was like, well, I wanted to hear you. Like you let
I
me
was
come up there,
teaching?
and I was just, you were teaching level
Oh,
one.
Lord.
In Birmingham.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Park or was it Spain Park or somewhere like that? I can't remember.
I think it was at Mountain Brook.
Mountain Brook, that's where it was. Like I was at Jacksonville State then. And I said, man, I just want to come up and like volunteer to work. I just want to go through again. And I still, I go back to my level one that I did in like 1999 under, Mike Horn and Boo Shack Snyder. And then I still got you that, I don't remember who else helped you. Oh, Larry Judd's brother did the
Mike Judge. Mike was our throws. Judge. That's right.
Mike did the throws, he was from Georgia. So I still got all that stuff. Like I still go back and study it. I mean, I've done a lot of studying and reading during this time that we're out, man. And man, it was just that state meet was a unique experience, man. We took I just want to talk back about that, man. It just watching those kids grow from elementary all the way up. And I remember the 9th grade year that we had like 3 girls qualify for state, and so I took a yellow dog down with those girls and the boys, and I said, hey, by your senior year, let's try to win state. And their senior year, we did. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, I think back, and I went and looked up, because you forget about things. We had 18 girls qualify for the state meet. We had 3 girls qualify for 4 events. So you had all those girls in there. We had 52 points coming out of the field events. We scored 124 points. We had 52 points coming out of the field event. I mean, it was insane, man. Crazy. And what's crazy is going back to when we started the pole vault, we went 1, 2, 6 in the pole vault
at state.
At state,
you went from not even bringing the pole vault pits out to having 3 scores in a state champ.
12 years. 12 years earlier, we started the program. That was my 10th year there. So 9 years earlier is when we started the pole. And we had 3 girls there, and we had 2 boys. I mean, it was crazy.
Well,
and this year, we had our first ever state champion on the boys' side. And guess what it was in?
Pole vaults.
Yeah, crazy.
Well, I want to put you on the spot, JJ, because to me, and I'm so proud of you. I've known you for a long time. And, it's so interesting, the story of a new program and a program that doesn't have history. And so you're really building it up from the ground up, and it culminates in this amazing state championship. And we've heard just awesome stories of how you've really built these kids up since their kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade year. I love that. So I want to put you on the spot. Perhaps there's a coach listening right now who is struggling with their own program. Maybe they've started a new program. They're taking over a program. And, state meet, they can't even spell state meet because they can't even get 7 kids on the team. What 3 things would you – I'm putting you on the spot here. We did not talk about this before, JJ, man. So I'm sorry. But what 3 pieces of advice would you give someone to help them build up their program? Not necessarily to win the state championship, but how do you build a program what pieces of advice would you give? Start with number one.
Well, when I came here, the number one thing that I said, number one, I've got to build a culture of getting parents and kids involved, that they want to come to track. You know, there was a time at Center Hill that track was like the last thing on the pole. You know what I'm saying? Now you've got kids that just come and do cross country and track. So now we've got that year-round training. There wasn't basketball kids that came out for 3 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Even though we've got that, you know, that come out, you know, and just do track for fun. You have people that are coming, and we built that over time. That wasn't my intention, but I think that you expose to them early on and you make it fun. Number one, you have to build a culture that you want to get parents involved. You know, I've got parents that come, and I've got some that now, man, they've been working with me 9 years, you know, that come to the track meet. They're like, what can I do? I'll run the high jump today and stuff like that. You know, there's been some situations, Mike, that, you know, this blows my mind, that this is even bigger than student athletes. You know, I've had some single moms that were lost, and like they ran the long jump pit for me. They got a shirt, they got a hat, they got to eat. So every Saturday they got to come work an event and then sit on the infield and watch their kid. So they became a part of something special. You know, like you'll see them now, their kids are in college now. They're like, man, I miss track meets. I've even got some parents that still come help, and their kids are in college. You know, it's you know, you build that culture. Right there. You build that culture, and, you know, I guess number two, you build that culture of people wanting to be a part of something. I guess that's what it would. They make it something special. Like track and field is special. You know, I want to be a part of it. Number two, you make it fun. Make it fun, that where, you know, I'm playing music at practice. Yes, we're serious, but, you know, a kid, you know, I have days out there, at least 2 days a week early on. Like we'll run real hard on Monday, and then Tuesday we have, you know, we do the old school pedestal, and we do the old school, you know, Dan path stretching routine. The kids are like, they think it's something special. I'm like, I got this from college coaches. Like, I didn't invent this, you know, but they just hang on your every word, you know, if you're organized. So I think you make it fun. And then number three, what I do is, like, on Fridays, and especially early on, we have fun days where, like, you're going to hurdle. I'm going to teach you the hurdles, you know? So I think at any point, if someone gets hurt, if somebody doesn't come back, you know, everybody on the team, you learn every event. So at any time, you know, no matter what happens, you know, I guess you could say, I get it from baseball. You need to be a utility player. You know, you're not just a distance runner. Like, you know, it's funny when I say, hey, you're a distance runner. You're tall. Today I want you to go over and learn the high jump. And then, you know, we go to the home meets and they go run the 800, you know, or the 4x8 or the mile, and then they go over there and do high jump. Now, are they the best? No, but eventually they will be good. But who knows? We may need them down the road for a team. And then I based everything around winning district. We put everything, and then region, North State, and state takes care of its rest. But we put everything into learning every event, putting as many people, you know, we can enter 3 kids per event. So you're the 10th best 100-meter girl or guy. That's great. But why don't you come over here and try these 300-meter hurdles? If you can still run the 100, but when it comes time to district, you may be running 300-meter hurdles at district, or you may be long jumping. So I guess build a culture. Number two, make it fun. Number three, be organized. You know, I see so many coaches that are not organized, you know, and be consistent, you know, be consistent in who you are. You know, kids understand that. Like, hey, I got kids that won't come out to my program because they'll look at me and go, hey, coach, you know, I can't follow no directions and stuff. You'll end up cutting me. I was like, well, hey, get your stuff together and come on out for me. And then they may change by their junior and senior year, you know, but they know, coach, hey, I'm going to be fair. I'm going to be consistent, and I'm going to love you, but there are some requirements. You know, we're going to have a disciplined program.
I heard build a culture. The kind of the way I'll reframe that, what I heard is make the team something people want to be involved in, from parents to kids, other athletes, etc. Number two, make it fun. Music at practice. I love that. I love this cross training of events, this utility player idea. Really kind of not only helps them, it develops them athletically as well, even though that may not be the intention of, you know, the distance runner coming over high jump, but it's also fun. They get to do something different. And then really, I bet you those kids have a better appreciation for the high jumper when it's like, oh, I did the high jump too. You know, I know I'm a miler, but I did the high jump. I know what my teammates going through. So it helps build that team camaraderie. And then number 3, be organized and consistent. And I hear I hear about, I'm gonna say the hard word, the R word, rules, but there has to be accountability for your
Yes,
athletes
yes.
and for yourself.
Yes. Well, that's why I tell the kids, and I start early on. We start practicing in November. We can practice for 1 hour after school or 50 minutes after school. And I do my daily grade checks, and I'm like, guys, if we have 4 starters on the 4x1 and one of them gets in a fight on a Friday before the meet, it affects the whole team dynamics. So you have to be accountable for yourself, and you got to think about the team first. And once you do that, it just rocks along because you work with the team at Gill Athletics. I work with the team. You're a team within your own household. When you're married, you're a team, whatever it may be.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes people say team and they say family, but they don't really mean it. Like, you have to give up something. You've got to give up some Saturdays and come to Saturday practices. You have got to give up. Oh, you know what? When I go to break the tension, yes, not only does it affect me, but it affects my team. And I harp on that. Like there's just certain things we're not going to put up with, and I think once you build that culture, it just, if a kid is constantly getting in trouble and they're the star athlete and I let them be on the team and let them run, what's that going to do to my culture? My kids know. They don't care. I can love you. I got some kids I love that are like my own family. And I like Cameron McClellan. I used to use her all the time. Like, if Cameron messes up, she's not going to be on the team. I don't care if she can score 40 points. We'll win without her. And I think what you do, because you're teaching kids, and that's all we're doing is teaching them. But I think we've gotten away from that in sports, and a lot of times at the junior high and high school level. Yeah, there have to be some consequences. Hey, when my academics wasn't where they need to be, my 10th grade year, my mama took me out to the basketball team, took my car away. She didn't go, oh, I'm going to let you play, blah, blah, blah. It has to be some consequences to the real life, and those streets got some real harsh consequences. So we have to learn through athletics how good. And besides, we're doing after school activity, so if you can't do what you're supposed to do, you showing me you really don't want to be out there. And not to be someone with an ego, but I'm very passionate about what I do. So if you don't value my time and value everything I've learned over 44 years of being in athletics as a coach, as an athlete, or being around it, then you show me that, that you don't need to be out here.
Right.
You don't
level
appreciate
and
it.
lack of respect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, hey, you're showing me you don't want to be out here.
Well, I tell you, JJ, as we start wrapping up here, what really I keep hearing and envisioning over and over, hearing the way you run your program and run yourself, is I know this man meant a lot to you, Coach Alex. You really embody that story of Coach Alex seeing you, the person, and not just a number. And it's clear over and over that that's how you see the kids, and not only the kids, but the kids and their parents and their siblings that come to your program or involved in your program in some shape or form. You see them as people first, not as an 18-foot long jumper or 15-second hurdler. I just love that. One of the things that really struck out to me, JJ, that really, I just want to make sure we touch this on again, and I just want to give you as much kudos as I can here. When you won the state championship, again, the first girls state championship track for Center Hill, maybe never even thought you could win the state championship there, and you won. What did you do? You went and called other people. You're the coach of the year. You're supposed to have people call you and congratulate you.
Man.
And you dialed out. You called the uniform guy. You called the photographer guy to say thank you. So what you described there is, and what you've been describing this entire time, is you've been mentioning these coaches that you have learned from, the Curtis Fry, Steve Dudley's, Big Al, so many people. You're on their shoulders. They've taught you how to coach. Well, now those athletes from your team, they're on your shoulders. They're learning how to be champions for life. I love you hit on the head. You are building champions for life. You just have done a fantastic job, and I just can't. Part of wanting to have you on the podcast was to share your story of just how good you've done, not you, but how good you have done for your community and your program. So hats off to you, my man. You've just done a fantastic job. I'm so proud of you.
Well, man, I appreciate it, man. And, it's one of those things I go back to my high school coaches that really laid the foundation. Dan Edwards. He's actually passed away now, but he was one of the ones that really influenced me in football and track. Billy Ray Harbor was my high school track, basketball coach, football coach, and Coach Billy Bell, who was my football and track coach also. Those guys just kind of, laid the foundation. And they're my heroes. They're who I look up to. And then, my mom, who has been my, a lot of people want to grow up and be like their dads. I want to grow up and be like my mom. 40 years in education. She taught 25 years at one school. Then she retired and stayed retired 2 months and went out to another school, a private school, and coached. Taught for 15 years. And, I love my dad, and my dad is very influential in my life. But my mom being, she still laughs. I hated going to school. I hated when she had to stay at school. But I would not be where I am today without, those coaches laying the foundation, being hard on me, punishing me. I coach hard like they did, but I also built a relationship in love just like they did. And they opened the doors. And then I was able to go to the college level and learn, and watch all of these coaches and just pick up every little thing I can, every little gem I can from all of them. And man, it's been an amazing journey. That's one of my quotes. Life is about the journey, and, I never really looked back like you made me look back today. And, when we talked that we were going to do this, and I just appreciate it, man. I mean, man, I've had a great journey, man, being able to go to Texas relays, Penn relays, going to Eugene, 1 year for nationals, man. And I'm sitting, that's a funny story. I'm sitting up in the stands by Al, Boo, Jim Bonanigan, Maurice Green, and I think it was like John Capel, maybe somebody else. They're all sitting up in the stands behind me. Like Maurice Green is like, one time he looked at me and was like, hey, who you think is going to win this race? And it was like, Savante Stringfella and Miguel Pate are like doing their long jump, finale. And then you got the great hurdlers that were of that time, man, I mean, that's just memories that, you can't put a price tag on. That's what I tell people. You can make money, but memories of a life journey and coaching and, now to be back, George Kirsch, he's coaching down at Pearl, Mississippi. I grew up watching George Kirsch. When I was in Yazoo City, Woody Barnett's name always came across of all that he's done for the state of Mississippi. And now me and Woody Barnett, are on a first name basis. We call each other and talk because he helps, time the meet. So, I just called him a week ago to check on him about the Coronas, and we just talked about life, man. To be able to do that, and here's the heroes I grew up watching, man. It's just, I can't put it into words, man. I'm the luckiest guy in the world, man.
Well, here's the fun part. You say I've had a great journey, my man. You have got many, many years to go. I can't wait to. It won't take me 20 years to talk to you again, but I can't wait to touch base again and go through this journey, kind of pick up from coronavirus and past. And I just know we're going to be talking about not only state champion teams and things like that, but there's going to be so many stories about kids that you've affected their lives in a positive manner. And again, it just shows the power of a track coach in a positive manner with kids. So thank you so much, JJ, for joining us. This has been a real blast for me.
Mike, it's been an honor, man. I really appreciate all that you do. And then, man, these podcasts are wonderful that you're doing, man. It just, it's nice listening to all of them, man. Keep doing what you're doing, man. And we really appreciate what you're doing and getting the podcast out and all you do for Gill Athletics. And I personally, for all that you've done to help me over the years, man, I always get a phone call from you or a positive or a birthday shout out or Merry Christmas, man. You're just an inspiration. So I hope we can give back to you like you always give to us, man. I really appreciate you.
Well, I was going to say bye, but I have to add that, honestly, by me giving here, this is what I get in return, man. This story, I told you I was going to learn something new. Had no idea you were an Ole Miss fan. That blew me away. For anybody who has coached in the Mississippi State area, you'll understand. I love the guys at Ole Miss now, but man, I didn't like them when I was at Mississippi State. JJ.
I know, man. It's Christ's a rivalry, man. So
it's a rivalry. Well, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate you. Can't wait to have you on again one day soon and talk about many, many more state champions and great people.
Thank you, Mike.